As you would know, IRCC has opened up an all-new avenue that allows you to sponsor a family member, that could be your parents, grandparents, spouse, partner or any other relatives, via an online portal for permanent residents. IRCC is aiming to do away with all kind of paper-based applications and move those to the online portal. But, and that's a big but, IRCC still introduces the online portal as a testing program and is continuing to accept all paper-based applications. So, where does that leave us? Should we use the new online portal or make use of the traditional paper-based applications? In this video, we are going to talk about the similarities and differences between the online portal and the paper-based applications, the pros and cons of each, and finally, my personal take on what mode would be the best to go for in 2022. So let's just get started. Hi guys and welcome back to our channel. Before we jump right into the topic, let me point out the timestamps that I have placed on this video. So if you are here looking for an answer to a specific section, you can just jump to that particular section using the timestamp, or feel free to stick around and go along with me. Of course, you would not buy a laptop just by looking at the price point, but you would want to evaluate all the aspects of it. And that is what exactly we are going to do in this video. So instead of just knowing which is the best mode to go for, let's first evaluate all the criteria that may and may not impact your application. Before we can understand the similarities and differences between two objects, it is very important for us to understand what exactly each of that object means. By paper-based applications, I am referring to the traditional way of submitting your sponsorship applications to IRCC. Now that used to be and still is by submitting a lot of paper forms and supporting documents compiled into one package, and then you send it as a courier to IRCC. We have made a lot of videos around the paper-based applications, which you can find it on the cards above or in the description box below. Since the online portal is fairly new, we are going to spend some more time to understand how exactly the portal looks like, how do you get registered, how do you create an account, and how are you going to submit the application. So in the next section, once we have reviewed the online portal, we are going to talk about the similarities and differences, and along the way also talk about the positives and negatives of each mode of application. Let us first see how are you going to get registered on the online portal. The link to the online portal is placed in the description box below if you want to follow along with me. What you see here is a permanent residence portal. Now this portal is going to be used only to submit an application for sponsorship. This is different than what you also have something called GCK or a CIC account. If you are a permanent resident in Canada, you might already have a GCK account. This account you would have created once you had applied for permanent residence. So what happens after you submit an application through this portal? You get an acknowledgement of receipt, and along with that comes an application number. Now when do you get an AOR? Really, there is no answer to that. It usually would take a couple of weeks, or it can also take a couple of months. But once you finally have your application number, you can use that application number to link it to your GCK account so that you can track the entire progress of the application throughout its lifetime in your CIC account. And any kind of communication that IRCC is going to do, it is going to be through that CIC or the GCK account. So in a nutshell, this portal is going to be used only for submitting an application. So let's go and see what exactly the portal looks like. Now there are some instructions that are provided in here. You need not get confused with what exactly this is. In a nutshell, what we are going to do here is just submit an application for the sponsorship through this portal. That's all. So if you're coming here for the first time, you are going to click on create an account, and it is going to ask for an email address which will be linked to this particular account. So the question, creation of an account should be done by the sponsor or the principal applicant. Honestly, it does not really matter who is doing it. It's just that person who is going to take more time or spend more time in preparing the entire application, it is best that that person does it. So in my case, if I would have done a sponsorship for my wife, I would have created an account for myself, and it would make my life easier to access the application using my email credentials. Now, once you submit a request for creation of an account, you are going to get a verification email from IRCC which will contain a code. It's like a one-time validation code. And when you enter that validation code on this page, your account will be active. Now, since I have already created an account, I am just going to log in and see what exactly the interface looks like. Alright, so once I am in, I am going to see three different sections, and these are nothing but the steps in which your application will go through before it is finally submitted. So first is you are going to check whether you are eligible. Second, you are going to complete and submit all kind of forms and documents requested, and finally submit your application. Now, if you want to know if you are eligible to sponsor someone, I have already prepared a detailed video around this topic, which you can find it on the cards above or in the description box below. And along with that video, there is also part 2 which talks about the supporting documents that you would need to complete an application, which is going to be the part 2 of this process. And finally, once you have gathered all the information and uploaded all the documents, you are going to pay a fees and submit your application. So here comes the first similarity between paper and online portal. The process of sponsoring your spouse, that is the eligibility that you need to have as a sponsor, or the eligibility that the principal applicant needs to have, or the supporting documents that are requested by each individual, and finally the relationship proofs are going to be still the same. So there is no change in the overall process and what documents are requested. It's just that the mode in which you are applying is different. So the checklist that was used during the paper-based applications is going to be the same even if you're submitting an application via the online portal. Now, after you have created an account and you are going to submit a new application, you are going to click on Start New Application. And in here, you are going to select which program you are applying for. Now, to set the context of the entire video, I am going to focus on spousal sponsorship, but this portal can also be used for other economic programs or different kind of family sponsorship programs. So I'm going to select family, and the category in which I am going to apply is spouse, but it can also be common law partner, conjugal partner, or any other value that is applicable from the list of values. So I'm going to select spouse, and I'm applying it under family class, that is outside Canada. If you do not have an idea of what exactly the inland and outland sponsorship process is, I made an entire video around that topic, which you can find it on the cards above or in the description box below. If you're wanting to submit multiple sponsorship applications in one go, it is best that you can title each application by some name. Since in my example, I'm just going to create one application for spousal sponsorship, it doesn't make sense for me to write a title, but it's not an harm even if you do. So once you hit submit, you are again going to get that same note like this, saying that you have to review your eligibility criteria, review the application guide, and review the document checklist, the checklist that I just referred. Now, as you scroll further, you will see application forms. Now, this brings us to the first difference between paper and online portal. In online portal, system is going to list out all possible forms that could be applicable in any program. Now, even if you have selected spousal sponsorship, system might give you some forms that might not even be related to spousal sponsorship, that might be related to some other program, and probably that is why IRCC is calling this program a testing program. So it is your responsibility as an applicant to make sure that you are filling up the forms that is applicable to your program you are applying for. So in this case, if you are applying for spousal sponsorship, you have to refer to the checklist, see to it that the forms listed in the checklist are filled in this particular portal. And any kind of supporting document the checklist is referring to, you are going to provide that in here. Before we go ahead, make sure that you do not miss out on any country specific forms. Now, what is country specific forms? I have prepared a detailed video around that, even that you can find it on the cards above. Now, as you scroll further, you will see some instructions, and these are very critical and key information that you need to review. Click on each applicable names forms to access it, that is the forms that are applicable to your program. Then follow the instructions to complete it. Some forms must be filled through a web form and others are PDF that you will have to upload. So it means that there are a couple of forms that are in the digital form that you are going to fill it in the website, but there are some forms like in the paper applications, you are going to download it, fill it up as per the instructions, sign it if applicable, scan it and upload it in the portal. So it is not necessarily saving you from the hassle of downloading, printing and signing. That is still applicable even if you're doing an online portal. It's just that it makes your life more easier and convenient in form of how you're uploading all the data. For example, the form IMM 0008. This is a form that is applicable if you're doing a spousal sponsorship. On the right, if you see under the actions, you have a start button, right? So you're going to click on start and then you are going to fill up the form as per the instructions in the guide and then submit the form. However, for example, if we talk about IMM 1344, which we talked about in my last video, here you have an upload button instead of start. So what you're going to do, you're going to click on download. System is going to download it for you. You have to have an Adobe Acrobat Reader to read this file, fill that form up, sign it, scan it, and then upload it back in this section. This brings us to the second similarity. The information that is requested in the digital form is pretty much similar to what is requested in its PDF version. Of course, there are few differences at some places in this form that we are going to see further in this video. For example, when I click on IMM 5562 and I click on start, here it asks me to enter all names in English and in your native language. So in this section, you are going to write the family name, that is Stark, and given name as Sansa. So let's say Sansa's native language is Hindi. So I will go to Google Translate and just write in English to Hindi, and I will write Sansa, paste it in here, put some braces, and that's all. The next difference when it comes to the forms is there are some forms in their PDF versions having a validate button, but these forms do not have a validate button. Of course, there is no need for validation because it is being submitted and there is a validation in place for each of these fields. So the moment you try to enter a particular character value in a date field, system will give you an error. Or if you have left a field blank which was supposed to be a mandatory field, system will anyways not allow you to go ahead. Now, as you scroll further, you will pass through the forms and you will land in the region which asks for uploading supporting documentation. Now this brings us to the second difference between these two formats. Providing supporting documentation in paper applications is pretty much very straightforward. So you have a checklist which says at what sequence its supporting documents need to go, and you are going to provide all the supporting documents in the manner in which is asked for. However, when it comes to the online application, you are going to categorize each supporting document and upload it one by one. Of course, it does not really matter in what sequence you are uploading this supporting documentation in the online portal, but it is always best that you refer to the checklist and provide it in the same sequence it is requested. When you are submitting in paper applications, you need not label the document that you are providing, you have to just provide them. But when it comes to the online portal, there is an instruction which says that every supporting document that is uploaded, you have to rename it in a specific format. The format is, you need to write the last name hyphen the first name of the principal applicant hyphen the name of the document. For example, if you're submitting proof of relationship and you are submitting any family testimonials, and let's say the primary applicant's name is Sansa Stark, so you will have Stark hyphen Sansa hyphen proof of relationship hyphen testimonial. Now this is one way of writing it. Of course, you should refrain from giving your document a very longer name, but it is best that you provide a name in a way by just looking at it, will know what exactly the document is. If you have multiple testimonials that you need to provide, you just number it as 1, 2, 3, 4 as required. Giving one more example, if you select document checklist and click on upload and you select Sansa Stark proof of contact chat history. So you are going to click on upload. This is how you're going to provide all kind of supporting documents as requested in the document checklist. Now once you have uploaded the file, you will get a confirmation message saying that your document has been uploaded successfully. If you do not get this confirmation message, it means that there is some technical issue with this particular file. There could be two possible reasons for that. First, the file that you are uploading is not in the right format as requested. Now the accepted file formats are listed down here. That's PDF, JPEG, DOC, PNG and DocX. As long as your files are in this format, you should be good. And the second issue that you might encounter is probably because your file size is different and it is beyond the 4 MB limit. Now 4 MB is for each file that you're uploading. Now in my opinion, 4 MB is a decent size for any kind of file to be uploaded. It's just that when you are uploading a relationship photo, that photo size may be beyond 4 MB. So what I would recommend is upload one photo at a time. So you can make one photo less than 4 MB instead of compiling all photographs in one file. Just upload one photo one by one. You can provide maximum of 20 photographs, that is the relationship photographs that I'm talking about. Now, if your file is in the supporting format and it is still within the prescribed limit and you are still having an issue, probably you might want to change the browser in which you are trying to access the portal, or probably check your internet connection. So having passed through the form section and having passed through the supporting document section, you are going to finally land on the section which is going to ask for fees. Now this brings us to the next similarity. The amount that you're going to pay, irrespective of what mode you're applying for, you are going to pay the same fees. And the manner in which you're going to pay the fees is still the same. So there's a different link that you're going to go to, find what is the applicable fees, make the payment, and you get a payment receipt. And you are going to upload that payment receipt in this particular section if you're applying online, or you're going to insert it in the sequence as requested in the document checklist if you're submitting a paper application. So the manner in which you're going to pay the fees is, you have a link here. So you click on pay your fees. It takes you to this section. If you scroll further, you have two options. We help you choose your fees, and the second, choose your fees from the list. I would personally recommend to use the option 1, which will be a guided step on answering some questions, and system is going to tell you what is the fees that you're going to pay. So when you click on answer questions to get fees, so you land on this particular section which says tell us what you want to do. So in here we are going to click on sponsor a family member, sponsoring your spouse with or without dependent children. Click on continue. I will pay the right to permanent residence fee now. My spouse is living outside Canada. Are there going to be any dependent children? In my case, I'm going to select no. The next question, do you need to pay for biometrics? Now you would pay for biometrics only if you are coming here for the first time in last 10 years. If you had been to Canada in last 10 years and you have already done a biometrics once, you would not need to pay for biometrics again. But in my case, I would select yes. So you finally will land on the summary of fees and you're going to make a payment of $1135. This value would be different based on what responses you provided in the earlier questions. So once you have done the payment, you have a receipt and now you know what you need to do with that. So the last stage in the online portal is the declaration. So once you have filled up the forms, submitted all the supporting documents, paid the right fees, then you're going to provide your consent and declaration. That is nothing but the name or the initials that you're going to provide for submitting your application. Now once you have done that, you're all good to go and you can click on submit your application. So till the time you have not submitted any mandatory forms, made the fees payment or given your consent, system will not allow you to click on submit your application button. That button will be grayed out till the point all of these criteria are fulfilled. But the key thing to note here is that even if submit your application button is enabled or you're able to click on it, you should not do that till the time you have not thoroughly reviewed our application. So what I would recommend is do not upload your fees receipt till the time you're not 100% confident that you're good to go ahead and submit your application. So having gone through the online portal, let's now talk about the positives and negatives of each of the formats. First and the most important benefit, it is easy, convenient and comfortable. I remember when we had done a paper application last year in 2021, it was a nightmare. Like all papers were just lying around the bed. There are some papers like they are going under the desk. There were some important papers where I do not know how they were just making its way through into the stack of books. And it was like a complete chaos. There were some papers that I would print. Then I would realize that I had made a mistake and some word was not in the right format or something was not aligned. Then I would go back to the printer shop, get it printed again and then come back to my home. And lastly, I remember when I had just stepped out of the house to go to the nearest courier shop to send the entire package to IRCC, I always had that fear, have I missed out on any document which is now not there? So till the time I had not reached the courier shop, I had not sealed the envelope. So when I go back in time and try to relieve that fear, I feel that this online portal gives me much more comfort and convenience at the same time. The second benefit of the online portal, you need not worry about the sequence in which the documents are arranged and submitted, because when you're submitting a paper application, the IRCC agent is anyways going to scan entire set into the system. So when you're submitting an application via the online portal, half of the job of the immigration agent is already done. The next biggest benefit of applying via the online portal is that you save some cost. Now this cost is not too substantial, it is just going to be like few $100s and you save that by not couriering anything to IRCC. But when it comes to cost, it is not just the monetary cost that you're talking about, it's also the time that you're investing in. So you save here at least some days, if not weeks of your time by first not having to courier anything to IRCC. This will save your application's transit time, that the date when you submit it to the courier office and the day it reaches IRCC. So you save on that number of days. So when it comes to paper application, there is also a fear of your application getting lost. And we have seen some instances where people have reported that their application was lost and they get to know only after waiting for 6 to 7 months when they have not received an AOR, and when they call up IRCC, the agent simply says that they have never received their application. This will be a huge setback if you get to know that your application was lost, and this might affect your relationship and your personal plans, especially if you are submitting it via an outline application where you are not living with your spouse. Besides getting lost, there is also a fear of the package being damaged during the transit. I know it is not very common that the application gets lost or get damaged during transit, but I still would not want to be in the position of like 0.1% of probability, because if I fall into that probability, it will be a huge setback for me. So personally, I would give this fear more weightage, and that's why I would be more inclined to apply via online portal. Deriving from this point, the next benefit I like about the online portal is that the moment your application is submitted, you get a confirmation saying that your application has been submitted, and you can see that status when you log into your online portal. Of course, this will not tell you whether your application is good to be accepted and good to be processed, but at least you will have some sort of certainty that your application has been received by the immigration office. When it comes to the negatives of online portal, which actually becomes the positives of the paper application, is the online portal is fairly new. And IRCC is still calling the online portal as a testing program, and it has just been like 7 or 8 months the online portal is live. And that is the reason IRCC is still accepting paper applications. So paper applications are well-known established format in which IRCC immigration agents are accustomed to review an application and see the genuineness of the file. But personally, as you would have guessed by now, I'm still inclined more towards the online portal, because apart from this particular negative, I do not see any other thing which really makes the online portal not to go for. So there you have it, my answer to the question. If I have to redo the spousal sponsorship application that I did last year for my wife and do it all over again, I would prefer to apply via the online portal and not the paper application. Of course, there are few negatives in the online portal, but that is still not substantially big enough when I compare it against the paper applications. Alright, I hope that you have got the answer you were looking for, and this brings us to the end of this video. If you have found value in this video, please do not forget to like the video and let us know in the comments what you liked and what is something that you would want us to come up next. And finally, if you're new to the channel or a returning viewer who has not subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button. That will give us motivation enough to keep coming up with a lot of videos around this topic. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Meet you in the next video. Take care. Bye bye.